Welcome back to Mangastorian's Complete Story series. Today we're going to be covering Berserk, chapter 155, 156, and 157. Now I know this is a bit shorter than you're used to with your Berserk episodes, but due to the fact that the whole team will be at Anime Expo, we had to break our next episode up into two parts to give you a Berserk episode for every Friday. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now in our last video, Guts had reached the Tower of Conviction only to find Casca had been taken away yet again. He used Farnese to navigate through the tower. Ishidora, Luca, and the rest of them were trying to find Casca so that they can all escape. But before they could, Mozgus sentenced Casca to death, only to find the red ooze protected her before she was killed within the Iron Maiden. As that ooze grows larger and breaks through the walls, the crow tells Mozgus that he has to hurry and retreat while they hold this off. Mozgus shouts that he will not run. He will accept any challenge! And as he says that, the mysterious being from before reaches down from the ceiling, sticking Mozgus with one of its barbed tentacles. The crow calls back as Mozgus begins to foam at the mouth, and then the mysterious being begins to whip its tentacles at the rest of the executioners. Meanwhile, over in one of the towers, Luca and the rest of them continue searching for an exit. And as they turn a corner, they see a wall of ooze flowing towards them. The group tries to run back, but then they see more of the ooze creeping up from behind them. Ishidora shouts that this really sucks. And just as the two sides of the ooze come together, there's a fiery blast that shoots through, incinerating the ooze. Everyone asks, what the hell was that? And then they see Casca walking through the fire with a deformed infant. As the fires fade, the infant flies off with the other spirits and Casca falls into a man's arms. Mozgus walks forward, fire flowing out of his mouth, searing his own hat, and he tells everyone, "You have witnessed a miracle! It is God's purpose for you to use this power and lead everyone!" Ishidora shouts, "Hey, Squareface, give back the girl!" And Mozgus asks, "Who's that?" And the smaller executioner says that he knows the girl in the back. He's a friend of the witch. Mozgus then says that he will not allow this. The witch is the leader of the disturbance that is threatening us. By burning her, we will show God's victory to the masses! Ishidoro and Jerome pull out their swords, and Mozgus asks if they plan on obstructing their mission, because his executioners will not tolerate the enemies of God. Just then a claw-wielding executioner steps forward, throwing his claw into a stone pillar. He pulls back, flinging the stone chunk through the fire, knocking a hole into the wall. Ishidoro says, "See, I told you he wasn't human!" And as the group pushes back, Luca loses her footing and falls. Nina quickly spins back to her arm and Jerome grabs her. However, watching this is the mysterious being from before, and then his gaze shifts, and in the moonlight, the mysterious being can see the silhouette of the Skull Knight staring right at him. As the Skull Knight's shadow starts to loom over the mysterious being, he pulls out his sword and he makes his way towards him. Back below, Nina struggles to hold onto Luca's hand, and as Luca looks up, she makes a decision, and she lets go. Nina asks what she's doing, and Luca shouts for everyone to hurry and run away. And then there's a black shadow that flies past them all. Her eyes widen as she sees the head of the Skull Knight, and she asks, "Is that death?" Everyone tries to figure out why Luca was taken away, and Ishidora looks back at the claw-wielding executioner, and he says, "We still have a problem over here." Another pillar is thrown, but before it can hit, there's another rush of an attack, and Guts cuts down the pillar, shattering it. Rather than focusing on the claw-wielding executioner, Guts looks past him, and he sees Mozgus holding Casca. He grits his teeth, and he rushes past, slashing away at Mozgus and the rest of them. Outside at the base of the tower, Luca looks around at the ground and sees it covered in bodies, and then she looks back at the Skull Knight. The Skull Knight asks, "Why did you choose death?" And Luca leans back saying, "Give her a break. She isn't so admirable." The tower isn't right, and she figured that she wouldn't hit the ground directly. Maybe land on a tree or just break a leg. But then again, where is this? Is it heaven or... The Skull Knight tells her, "No. This isn't hell. It's the bottom of the tower." Luca then asks, "Is she still alive?" And the Skull Knight says, "It seems so." And then he stops. He turns back, getting on his horse, saying, "We've been here for a long time. Now it's time to show ourselves." The Skull Knight holds out his sword, and off in the distance is the mysterious being. Back up in the tower, Mozgus tells Guts that he will not surrender the witch to him. He's going to do this in the name of God's justice! Mozgus and the rest of the executioners spread their angelic wings, and they turn to leave, but as they do, Guts throws a set of knives at them. Just before they hit Mozgus, the crow thrusts his collar, deflecting them. Mozgus then turns back, telling Guts, "You are a fool who stands against God, and for that, only your blood will be compensation for that sin!" Guts looks at the group asking if they could be apostles, but there's something different about them. Either way, the brand is bleeding, so whoever you are, you're extremely dangerous. And now, I've got to deal with 7 of you. From behind Guts, the claw-wielding executioner slides up, spinning his chain, and he throws his claw into the ground. As he does, Guts jumps back up, stabbing and cutting into one of his arms. Guts then lands, and the smaller executioner springs out with his clamps. Guts quickly throws back his arm, hitting him. However, the executioner flies under the swing, and he continues to dodge all of Guts' attacks. After one more kick, the smaller executioner jumps up, reaching out with the clamp at Guts' only eye. Guts opens his mouth, biting down on the clamp, and he headbutts the smaller executioner back. He then swings the broadside of his sword, knocking the executioner into the wall. And as he does, he sees the larger one charging right at him. With no chance of dodging, Guts turns around and he swings. The force knocks the 2 of them away and slams them both into the walls. Farnese watches from the stairway. She steps out to see the fight. She asks, "What is happening?" And then she sees Guts, the black swordsman, stepping up from the rubble. The rest of the executioners start to get back up, and then Guts sees the larger executioner's face. The smaller one flies off with his mask, and the claw-wielding one begins to bite down on his severed arm. Guts tells himself, "I just gotta get through them, and I can get Casca back." Now I know this is much shorter than usual, and I do apologize for that, I honestly do. We don't want to make these shorter, but the best way to bring you guys Berserk every Friday is to break these up while we go on a big trip like Anime Expo. Now if you are at Anime Expo, don't forget to look for me, look for Kevin, look for Alex, look for Natalie, look for everyone on this team. We'll be hanging around there, chatting it up with you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to get your every Friday Berserk, and you can follow us on Twitter at Mangastorian.